They thought the Japanese homeland was untouchable. Then a train exploded deep inside Japan without a single American soldier stepping ashore. Night pressed down on the Sea of Okhotsk like a lid. Cold, black, silent. Beneath the waves, an American submarine waited, engines barely breathing, crew frozen at their stations. This was not supposed to be possible. This was not supposed to happen. The submarine was USS Barb, and in the final weeks of World War II, it would carry out one of the strangest, boldest, and most overlooked attacks of the entire war. An attack so audacious that even today it feels unreal. By mid-1945, the Pacific War was reaching its violent climax. American forces were island-hopping toward Japan, paying for every mile with blood. Iwo Jima had been taken, Okinawa had burned, and the Japanese home islands were under relentless air attack. But Japan was not beaten yet. Its factories still worked, its railroads still moved coal, steel, troops, and ammunition, and its leaders were preparing for a final catastrophic defense of the homeland. The Japanese believed one thing with certainty: no American force could strike Japan from the ground. That belief would not survive the summer. USS Barb was not famous when she left Pearl Harbor on her final war patrol. She was not the biggest submarine. She did not carry secret weapons. She was simply aggressive, and she was commanded by a man who refused to think small. Commander Eugene Lucky Flucky. Flucky was young by Navy standards, sharp, calm, ruthlessly creative. He believed submarines were not just hunters, they were weapons of opportunity. Under his command, Barb had already sunk more ships than most submarines ever would. She had shelled the Japanese coast. She had rescued downed American pilots. She had survived depth charges that should have crushed her hull. But Flucky wanted more. He wanted to hit Japan where it felt safe. In July 1945, Barb slipped into waters no American submarine had ever entered before. The Sea of Okhotsk, north of Japan, near the island of Karafuto, known today as Sakhalin. This region mattered. It fed Japan's war machine with coal, and coal moved by rail. Japanese trains ran like arteries across the island, day and night, loaded heavy, critical, untouched. From Barb's periscope, the crew could see it, a railway line hugging the coastline, a train passing in full view, a train on Japanese soil. No American had ever attacked one before. Flucky studied the shoreline through the scope. He saw the rails, the gravel bed, the poles, the distance from the water, and a thought formed that would have sounded insane anywhere else. What if we destroy the train from land? There was no plan for this, no manual, no approval from Washington, just a dangerous idea and a captain willing to act. To do it, Americans would have to land on Japanese-controlled territory, not invade, not occupy, just step onto the soil, plant explosives, and escape. If they were captured, they would be executed. No rescue, no backup. Flucky didn't order anyone. He asked for volunteers. 8 men stepped forward. They were not commandos, they were submariners, engineers, torpedo men, radio operators, regular sailors about to become the only U.S. ground force to ever attack Japan during World War II. They trained in silence. They studied the beach. They rehearsed in the cramped forward torpedo room. The weapon they would carry was improvised, a 55-pound demolition charge triggered by a pressure switch designed to detonate when a train rolled over it. Simple, brutal, effective. On the night of August 17, 1945, Barb surfaced near the coast. The war, unknown to the crew, was already technically over. Japan had announced its intention to surrender days earlier, but the message had not reached Barb, and even if it had, the mission would have gone on.
Orders were orders, and Barb was at war. The sea was rough, the sky moonless, perfect. The rubber boat slipped into the water. 8 shadows climbed aboard, weapons minimal, explosives heavy. The submarine faded behind them. Every stroke toward shore felt loud. Every splash sounded like a gunshot. Japanese lookouts were nearby. They could not know how close. The beach was rocky, cold, unforgiving. The men dragged the charge ashore and moved inland. Then they heard it, a rumble, a distant metallic growl, a train. It was coming sooner than expected. The men worked fast, hands shaking, breath held. They dug beneath the railbed with bare hands and tools. The earth was hard, time was gone. They planted the charge, set the trigger, covered it with gravel, and ran. They were halfway back to the boat when the night shattered. A thunderclap ripped through the darkness. Steel screamed. The ground jumped. The train hit the charge at full speed. Cars leapt from the tracks. Coal spilled into the air like black snow. Metal twisted. Wood splintered. Men were thrown. The explosion echoed across the hills. For a moment, no one moved. Then Japanese searchlights snapped on. The Americans paddled with everything they had. Bullets hit the water. Tracer rounds slashed the dark, but the shore fell away behind them. One by one, the men were pulled back aboard Barb. All 8 were alive. Below decks, the crew waited in silence. Then Flucky spoke. "We just bombed Japan from land." There was no cheering, just stunned disbelief. The impossible had happened. The only U.S. ground attack on Japanese soil had been carried out by 8 sailors and a captain who refused to think small. Barb didn't leave quietly. In the days that followed, she continued her patrol like a predator unleashed. She sank ships, she shelled ports, she attacked with a confidence bordering on defiance. Japanese commanders were confused, terrified. Reports came in of a submarine that fired rockets from the sea, of rail lines destroyed without air raids, of American attackers who appeared and vanished. USS Barb became a ghost story. On August 20th, Barb fired her last shots of the war. She turned for home, unaware of how close the world was to peace. When Barb finally returned to port, the truth emerged. Japan had surrendered. The war was over. The train attack, carried out days after the surrender announcement, became a strange footnote in history. Too late to change the war, too early to be remembered. The 8 men received no medals at the time, no parade, no headlines. Their mission was classified, quietly filed away. Commander Flucky would later receive the Medal of Honor for Barb's overall war patrols, but the train attack remained almost forgotten. Yet its meaning is profound. In a war defined by massive armies and industrial slaughter, this moment was small, precise, human. 8 men stepping on enemy soil, not to conquer, not to occupy, but to prove something, that no place is truly unreachable, that war bends to imagination, that courage does not always arrive with an army behind it. The rail line on Sakhalin was repaired, the wreckage cleared, the train replaced. But history does not forget the shock of that night, because for one brief moment, deep in the Japanese homeland, the ground itself was not safe. And it wasn't a bomber, it wasn't an invasion force, it was a submarine crew who refused to believe in limits. USS Barb would go on to be remembered as one of the most successful submarines in U.S. history. But its most extraordinary victory was not counted in tonnage sunk. It was counted in footsteps. Footsteps on enemy soil. A single explosion, a single train, a single impossible mission. And the quiet reminder that even in the largest war ever fought, history can turn on the actions of just a few men in the dark, far from home, doing something no one thought could be done. That is how a submarine destroyed a Japanese train, and how the only American ground attack on Japan was carried out, not by an army, but by 8 sailors and a captain who dared to ask, "What if?"